if you look over the years, the progress that has been made, I think, well, the European Parliament has been founded, of course. That was already a huge step where at least people can vote directly, people of a parliament. So that is an improvement. I think also that the council, you know, where the member states are, it has become a bit more transparent, but still the big decisions are still very unclear. And I think also, of course, the Commission has tried to open up in their communication, but at the same time, because the EU enlarged and the rule is still that every country is entitled to a commissioner, we now have 28 commissioners. And every commissioner needs to have a portfolio. So every time when a country is added to the EU, you have to look for a new portfolio on, oh gosh, what does he need to do now? Because that's the rule. I think that's still one important thing, is we really have to limit the Commission and really make clear it's a political body, it's not a technocratic body. I think in the Council the transparency is the biggest problem. Do you know what your minister is voting in Brussels? There are a lot of decisions being taken in Brussels by your minister, but the national parliaments don't even really know what their minister is doing in Brussels. I think their transparency is key. What for the European Parliament is very important is that we should have the right to send off commissioners. If they're not performing, now the only thing we can do is send off the entire Commission. Well, that hardly ever happens, because that's quite of a tough statement to make, right? You really need to do something really bad to send off the entire Commission. But at the same time, individual commissioners are not always performing very well at all. We don't have much power on that. So I really think the oversight that we should have as a parliament really should be improved. I think what Europe has been neglecting is, you know, with further integration, which was all part of globalization, right? A growing world where people are moving in, is that we have been neglecting the ones who are not benefiting from globalization, from economic growth. So the gap between, well, people who have less income but also less money than towards the rich ones has been growing. And for them, Europe is part of the problem. It's far further away, they don't understand it, and they just see it as globalization where they do not profit from. And I think if you're really talking about on contents what needs to change and really to get support for integration, is that more people start benefiting from it. Which means that Europe should not only focus on its internal market, where it started from, of course, it was focused on the internal market, but we also have to look on social policies, on taxation, you know, all these kind of issues, being more economic just. I think these kind of issues really should be more at the forefront of the agenda, and not only internal market and trade, which is still the core of current Europe. I think, you know, if you look at the issues that we think that should be arranged at the European level, and talking about institutional reform, there are a couple of issues where at this moment are not being dealt with at the European level. Most simple one is taxation. If we are talking about a euro crisis, and every time the question was, hey, should the government not spend less? But at the same time we don't arrange anything on taxation, which is the income for governments. So on the income side there's no EU policy, and we are competing with each other continuously, which means that we are lowering our taxation, because if I don't do it, my neighboring country will do it, and then the companies will go there. So we are competing on taxation, so lower and lower and lower income for governments. And at the same time we have this one currency where now Brussels is telling to governments, hey, but you have to cut your spending. You see, that's related, and this is one of the many topics where we do have a currency, but on taxation we are still arranging that purely nationally. Well, if we don't make that a European topic, if we don't change that it becomes a European topic, the euro crisis will go on. There are a lot of fields where we feel, yes, arrange it European, but then arrange it in a proper way. You have to change the constitution for that, but then make sure that the Parliament can do its scrutiny power, that the Commission is more transparent, and that especially also the ministers, you know better what they're voting. I think that altogether can lead to a Europe where people can build their trust on, but a lot of things need to change still, yeah. If you look at all the crises that we saw over the last couple of years, you know, the euro crisis, around refugees, all these issues, if you look and really look closely to them, what the problem is that it has been partly being organized at the European level. So we made an internal market, we made one currency, we made one Schengen area, but we left economic policies nationally, we left refugee policies nationally. So we arranged it only halfway, and that doesn't work. This muddling through, which Europe is built on, is now really reaching its limits. And then on top of that, you feel that people are losing out on globalization. That combination where people don't feel secure anymore, don't trust things that are further down the road like Brussels, and at the same time not organizing things very properly, that together makes it a very toxic mix, which is a dangerous one. And if we don't address it fully as politicians and take responsibility, it really can go downhill further, and that would be really the waste of losing the EU, which is a too big price to pay.